You ever wanted to know why it is that people like myself, psychologists, mental health professionals, counselors, whatever, are always trying to get you to be a little more kind to yourself, love yourself just a little bit more? Why is it? Why is self-esteem? Why is self-confidence? Why is this such a big issue? Why do we keep swirling around it and talking about how it's supposed to fix all of our problems? Because does it really fix all the stress that I have in my life when I am trying to pay my bills and work enough that I can do that, but at the same time, get home on time and be there when my family needs me there? Oh, and by the way, also volunteer in my community and make sure that I am doing my part to make the world a better place, and recycling because the environment needs me. And it gets to be a bit much, right? So how does self-love really fix all this, Dr. Natalie? Well, it does, and I'd love to teach you how. So keep listening.
I know your deep, dark secret. You don't like your life. You're a woman in midlife, and for the past 2 decades or more, you've poured yourself in to other people. You've poured yourself into your career, your family, and yet on the inside, you feel broken. And that's no way to be. I'm Dr. Natalie Marr. I'm a clinical psychologist and a life transition expert. It wasn't too long ago that I was in your shoes, waking up in my early 40s, thinking I've got 2 failed marriages and I'm a single mom for the second time in my life. And I just knew that I could do better, that I could feel better. Fortunately for you, I have about 20 years experience clinically. And so I've created a method that will help you learn to love your story. I know that the story that you're telling yourself about your life feels awful. And I know that you think that you can't change that. I assure you, you can. And when we work together, I'm going to help you to craft a different story, a story that you love, a story that makes you want to get up every single day.
Welcome back, everybody. I know it's just been so fun to sit down and visit with you, but I want you to know behind the scenes, I've been working on some things. I have some interviews I've been doing. I have midlife evaluation that I just recently recorded that I cannot wait for you guys to listen to. So that's when you sign up for your free one-on-one coaching session with me. Yeah. And you and I sit down and have a conversation, and I walk through a plan that's specific to what your needs are and give that to you for free. Well, I just finished doing one of those, and I record them and we'll share some of them here on my podcast. And so you're going to get to delight in hearing one of those for the first time. And I can't wait. So I have a lot of things that are coming at us later this fall and into the holiday season. I know I'm ahead. I know you're like, what is she talking about? But hey guys, I'm coming up on my whole year anniversary. It'll be ending my first season of this podcast. What? I know. So I'm really excited because I'm getting all of these things lined up and I'm starting to edit some of these videos, and it's just been so amazing. And I can't wait for you to continue to join me. So please make sure that you continue to plug in through the rest of this year. Now, let's get started on this idea of self-love. What the heck, Dr. Natalie? Why do you guys keep harping on us about our self-esteem? I know therapists are kind of, we can be a lot sometimes. I get it. And we do kind of circle back around to, are you doing your work? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you loving yourself? But when you think about it, it makes the most sense to come always back to this one place, because there's just too much out here in the world. There's too many things you would have to stay focused on. There are too many tricks that I'd have to be teaching you if I'm talking about relationships and talking about your career and talking about how to deal with perfectionism and talking about how to balance things with work and life. And there's too many things. There's far too many things, but there's only one you. And so the reason why in mental health we always circle back to you is because it actually is the most parsimonious answer to all of your hidden issues. I promise you, it is really honestly, mathematically that simple. So if I help you be a better you for you, then it won't matter what stressor is coming your way. Today's going to be a pretty short podcast, and I just really want to hammer home why it is that I chose Learn to Love Your Story as my title originally. I wanted you to understand that loving yourself, loving this great heap of a mess that you're living in the middle of, is really all it's about. There's lots of tricks. There's lots of ways to manage all of this stuff. But the real core of all of it is if you are really valuing that you are a beautiful, wonderful soul that is living here on this earth right now and deserves all that you have for her, then my friend, you've fixed all of your problems. Because if you're orienting back to that basis, all the tricks are just things I teach you to layer on that. Mindfulness, great trick, great things come from it. But if you don't truly believe underneath that you're worthy of that, then how valuable is that strategy going to be for you? Not very, not very. So that's what we're talking about in today's podcast. Real sweet, real simple, but really important. Why do you need to believe that you're the most valuable asset in your entire life? Because you're the only you that you get. I mean, it really is. It just comes down to that. If there's anything I know to be true, it's that there's only one human on earth that I have control over, and she's me. I used to think that being a great parent was controlling my kids. Like if I could just over anticipate all of their needs, make sure they never got into trouble with anything, then I would be fine. Well, guess what, my friends? My little ones, they get into trouble all the time. It doesn't matter how good a parent I am. I won't be able to over anticipate everything that they're coming up against. Case in point, this summer was a really tough summer for my oldest. You know, he was adjusting. It was between his freshman and sophomore years in college, and he was really adjusting to coming into his own person, letting go of some relationships that just weren't working for him, that, you know, had their shelf life, had their season, to be quite honest. And we all can empathize with this, right? You come out of high school, you think you're going to be besties with these people forever. And they were your besties. They are your besties in a mindset that you were in high school. But in college, as you're starting to find yourself and figure out what works and what doesn't for you and honor that for yourself, maybe not. And it was a tough summer for him. And it was a tough summer for he and I, because of course I wanted to reach out to this child and fix it for him. I wanted to make it all okay. I wanted to tell him exactly what he needed to do and transactionally take care of this big problem that he was facing. But what I realize is, you know, this kid, he's now 20 and he really needs from me support in doing that work for himself. Because if I don't give him tools to be able to continue to carry out big changes like this in his life moving forward, he will have to keep coming back to me. And I'm not going to be able to fix all those wounds. I just won't. So it will be a miserable existence if he doesn't feel like he can do this for himself. And even more than that, part of the journey he was on was really about learning his own value, learning that he gets to have a say in what his needs are and what he wants next for his life. And that, you know, sometimes that's to stay in relationships that kind of work for us, but don't work for us entirely. And sometimes it's to journey into the unknown of, man, I'm going to have to look for some new ones, and I'm not sure if I'm going to find them. And I'm not really sure if I have the skills to find them. And I'm not sure if I have the confidence to have the skills to find them, right? Like that was something that he and I were helping him to journey through. And all I was doing was trying to be the best, biggest cheerleader that I possibly could, because that's the best I could do for him in those moments. So what we were really coming back to over and over for him was teaching him his own value, which is essentially what the topic matter is today. Bringing you back to yourself and anchoring back to this idea that I am worthy of love, I am worthy of all the things that I want for my life. And I am 100% the only person responsible for creating and making sure that that happens. And it means if life is throwing me lemons and it's not happening, and I can't control the lemon throwing, I can at least control where I am sitting, because I don't want to get hit by all of them. So I might need to move myself. And that was really the end game for him, is he needed to move. He needed to situate himself differently to see if he could find a new place for himself where he has relationships that really work for him, or he's paying attention to the relationships that are working for him and not the ones that are not working for him as much. So I really encourage you to be on that same journey, to anchor back to this idea of your own worthiness at all times. I've decided to make a big change in my Learn to Love Your Story business. I'm going to start doing individual coaching. People wanted more of an individualized touch, and I get why. So here's the thing. Go to the notes and click on the link to get your free one-on-one coaching session with me. Yeah, that's right. Free. And here's how I do this. I have an assessment that I've put together that really helps us to evaluate your midlife and get you back on course to have that centered life where you feel like you're thriving and really loving life as it is right now, not waiting for some epic thing to happen later in your future, but really loving your life that you're in. So I start with that valuation, and we sit down together and have a conversation about it. And I'll set you on the course for where you want to focus your effort. So be sure that you sign up for your free one-on-one individual coaching session. I'm really excited to be adding this to the whole repertoire of what I do here at Learn to Love Your Story. And I'm really excited to get to know you just a little bit better. Now, what I can say about that is it's hard to do. Like, really, honestly, all of the freaking world of capitalism is geared at teaching you that you're not enough. That is the whole game, right? Did you know that there are people, scientists, that truly are trying to figure out how you never feel satisfied by a bag of chips and always want one more, right? Like, literally, that's their job, is to make it so desirable that it's so desirable you have to have another, and you have to have another, and there's never enough, right? So there's all sorts of systems swirling around us that are trying to make us not feel like what we have is enough. And that, my friends, does major things on our psyche. Over time, we truly don't even question, just believe at a subconscious level without any awareness that we're not enough unless we have the things. But the things are geared at never being enough. And so we're always in the pursuit. We're always in wanting. We can't ever be satisfied. And what I want for you is to realize that truly working on loving yourself as you are and feeling like that's the bomb.com, like that really is the end all be all, is that I love all the broken parts of this wonderful person I call Natalie. If I can get there, then no stressor that you throw at me can I not pivot through. Because what I'll do is I'll fiercely protect this version of me. I will fiercely want to find for them the answer. I will shovel in to knee deep in shit to figure my way out of a situation for that person. Now, I know that you know this to be true in other loving relationships. So I want you to think for just a moment about the person you love the absolute most in the entire world. Doesn't matter to me who that is. Could be a pet, could be a friend, could be a spouse, could be a child, doesn't matter. Just bring into your mind's eye right now that person, that one soul that you just couldn't do life without, right? Think of that person, bring them in your mind, and now tell me that if life threw them lemons, you wouldn't want to be the first one that stood in front of it. You can't, right? Like, this is the whole deal. When we love someone, something, some soul, we are all in. You couldn't break us. There cannot be a scenario that we won't want to defend it to the death, right? That's the kind of self-love that really needs to get facilitated within you. Without that at your core, it always feels like another chore that you're adding, another moral obligation that you'll probably mess up if you have that perfectionistic attitude, right? And it just feels like overwhelm. You listen to my podcast and you're like, oh, now she wants us to do mindfulness. And the next thing she's going to tell me, I need to start loving myself. Oh my God, how am I ever going to do all this kindness to myself and all the self-care and all the things? She just keeps adding things. Oh my gosh, it'll feel overwhelming. I don't want that for you. So if that's where you're at, don't listen to my content in my podcasts as the thing that I'm asking you to do. Listen to my intent in my podcasts. My intent for you is always for you to create a centered life that you thrive in. And the only way for that to come to fruition is if you love yourself. So underneath all of it, I want you to learn to love your story. The one that you're in right now. I want you to learn to love life as it is in this moment, not the version of you when you arrive somewhere with all of these skill sets. I couldn't care less about the future. I only can care about you in this present moment. And I do. I care for you a great deal because I was you. I was in that place. I had hit midlife full force with my second divorce and the second time becoming a single parent. And it was freaking tough. It's still tough, right? But what I realized in that split second of a moment was, I don't like me. I don't want to take care of me. I don't like that I made choices that put myself in positions that I felt compromised and then was waiting and hoping and praying that it all the ducks would go into a row. And now because it exploded in my face and I'm sitting here with the aftermath of it, I just have to sit here cleaning up. I don't want that anymore. And something shifted in that midlife little wiggle room for me, that life transition. I was like, I can do better than this. I teach better than this. I harp on the importance of loving yourself and truly having a connection with the version of you that is the worthiness that you bring to the world. And I started to think around this concept and go, there's really no way to fail in this model, because if I take care of me and love me that much, I would never let the mother me not make the right choice for her kids. I would never let the spouse me put up with things that aren't going to work in a relationship for me. I would never let the career me be in a job that's not fulfilling because it's work and you're getting paid a good salary and you should just put up with it. They have nice benefits. I would never make those choices if the person that was behind that is that one soul, right? So go back to that one soul that you love more than anything. Would you want any of those things for them to be in relationships that don't completely work, in jobs that don't completely satisfy them, making choices in their life that don't completely work for them? No, you never would. Those are lemons. You don't want them coming at the person that you love the most. So if you become the person that you love the most, this is a no-fail situation. If I love me that much, then I'm going to start to re-navigate my life in such a way that I'm only doing what feels like works and is in alignment with who I am as a person. And when I am a better fed person, all of those things that I'm choosing to be a part of, being a mom, being a sister, being a friend, being a psychologist, became better. I didn't inhibit myself in any of those areas. And that's the bullshit lie that we get fed by society. The bullshit lie is, you selfish little bitch, how could you put yourself first and love yourself more and set a boundary that says, you're not going to do this for me because you're more important. Ooh, you're selfish. Can't handle you. Then they start to blame us. Then we start to second guess ourselves, right? And we try to course adjust. If I took care of me and loved me and was in a better place, then I'm only choosing to be a better version of myself in all the things that I'm choosing. So there is flawed logic, almost like the nefarious scientist that's trying to say, if you have one more potato chip, you'll feel better, but you don't. You just want one more potato chip. This is the society. This is the programming and conditioning that we're floating in. If everything around us is geared at telling us we're not enough, then of course we've believed over time that we're not enough. But I promise you, you are enough. You've always been enough, and your worthiness is right there. You just need to learn how to love it, how to really fiercely protect it from ever being hurt, ever being thrown into situations or made to make choices that don't feel right for you. All right. I just wanted to take a minute and thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this podcast even a thing. It's being downloaded all over the world, which really amazes me, but it also warms my heart because I felt like this is the kind of information that women in their 40s and 50s and 60s need to start hearing. We need to get a fire lit under us, right? But we also need to know how to go in the right direction. And it's hard when you hit midlife and it feels like life is just not clicking. I want to help you have a centered life, to feel like you're thriving and that you love every minute of your life as it is right now. And I promise you, you really can do that. And I am so happy to have you here. So I just wanted you to hear that. Be sure that you're following me in wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss when I drop a new one. And also like and comment. I do listen. If you've commented on these podcasts, you'll see that I start feeding you more information about those podcasts. I'm not saying life won't throw lemons. Of course it will. But I'm saying that once you are in a position of really, truly loving yourself, that every decision you make when you're in those sticky, stressful situations will be oriented to taking care of you. And the version of you, when taken care of, does better in all parts of her life. So this is why this is the recipe that fixes everything and is the foundation on which everything else that I teach is fastened. I don't want you to worry about adding another thing that I'm adding in these podcasts. I don't want you to listen to these wonderful stories of the people that I've interviewed and hear what they've gone through and say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do that. No, stop. That is not your journey. That was theirs. Don't worry about adding more things. Worry about you. That's it. That's all I want for you, is to love yourself. And as you learn to love your story, and as you align yourself with making decisions that are fiercely protective of loving you and taking care of your value, you will find your centered life and you will be thriving. All right. So I'm adding a little addition here. It's the legal stuff. Just so you're aware, nothing in any of these podcasts constitutes actual psychotherapy. Yes, I am a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of Minnesota, but everything here is just educational in nature and is a suggestion of things that you could be doing in your own life to learn how to love the life that you're in instead of waiting for a life that you're dreaming of to come towards you. So just remember, this is not therapy. And if ever you need any resources for mental health, look in my notes and I'll always have a little blurb at the bottom where you can click on a link and get those services for yourself.